with us now, Alex Traiman, award-winning filmmaker and CEO of the Jewish News Syndicate. He's been covering Israel for the past 15 years. Thank you for your time on this Thursday. The U.S. and Israel both have said the explosion at the hospital in Gaza was an errant rocket fired by a terrorist group in Gaza. What are you hearing from your sources about the evidence of this attack and those who have been analyzing the blast?
Well, there seems to be both surveillance footage, drone footage after the attack. Also, for the first time, the IDF actually released a conversation between Hamas operatives in Gaza. All seem to point to the fact that this wasn't an IDF strike on the hospital. And not only that, but all the footage seems to demonstrate that the errant missile, which was fired by Palestinian Islamic Jihad and was intended to land in the Israeli city of Haifa, it struck the parking lot outside the hospital. The entire hospital building is still standing. The attack happened at after 1 in the morning, and it's very difficult to see how this was even a mass casualty event, the type of which the Hamas is saying that over 500 were killed. That's quite doubtful.
And despite mounting evidence to the contrary that Israel had nothing to do with this, we still are hearing rhetoric of those who want proof. What does that tell you about the state of this conflict?
Well, there's been this psychological warfare that Hamas has been playing since the very first moment, which includes the taking of the hostages. It includes the preventing of Gazans from moving south because Hamas intends to try to increase the number of civilian casualties in its own territory, and also a mass information war, disinformation war. There were reports instantaneously after that rocket hit that the hospital was hit and over 500 people were dead. In Israel, it took days to figure out how many people were killed in the massacre, and yet within seconds it was reported that 500 were dead, and most of the mainstream media was very quick to run with the headlines that Israel struck a hospital and killed 500. This is part of the asymmetric war that Israel's fighting, and unfortunately most of mainstream media is willing to buy into the information that comes from Hamas.
And it is worth reminding people on October 7th, Hamas massacred hundreds of Israelis. 20 trucks with aid for Gaza will be permitted to enter through the Rafah border crossing. Has that begun yet? And we're hearing that will not be enough for aid.
Well, there's unbelievable humanitarian needs inside of Gaza right now, and there's going to continue to be growing needs inside Gaza as the Air Force continues to carry out missile barrages on the Gaza Strip. There's 20 trucks now. The road leading into the Rafah border was bombed early on, and it needs to be repaired. But there are calls inside Israel not to allow any humanitarian aid into Gaza until the hostages are released. Remember, there's a hostage situation, and there are a number of voices of the families of those who have been kidnapped and taken into the Gaza saying that not even a single truck should enter until hostages are released.
Right. In fact, the families are saying it will become more difficult once you send aid in, and also assuring that that aid does not end up in the hands of Hamas. That's a difficult task.
Right. And the problem here is that Hamas sometimes dresses like militants and sometimes they dress like civilians. There were reports on Saturday morning that in addition to those dressed like militants, that there were civilians that came across and were happy to carry out attacks as well. As Gazans are told to move south within the Gaza Strip, it's certain that Hamas members and operatives are moving south dressed as civilians, pretending that they have nothing to do with this war. And as they move south, there is definitely the fears that Hamas could, in fact, get their hands on whatever materials are sent in.
Your organization, the Jewish News Syndicate, is also reporting there are still Hamas terror cells within Israel, the same groups that are responsible for the attack on the 7th. Share with us what more you know about that.
Well, first of all, there are some of the terrorists that came in on Saturday morning are believed to still be roaming around. Israel had killed 1,500 Hamas operatives that came inside Israel since Saturday, but it is believed that some were in hiding. But more so than that, as your previous report mentioned, that you have Hamas inside Israel dealing in that they're inside communities in Judea and Samaria, commonly known as the West Bank, and that's why the IDF has been very active in this last week at trying to break up terror cells that may be planning violence inside of Israeli cities. and other population centers. And also within the mixed cities like Jerusalem, you have 250,000 Arabs, and you also have Hamas installations there as well.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.